How I used AI to resurrect a 10-year-old business plan and found an $8 billion solvable problem.
Imagine you had this brilliant strategic idea maybe a decade ago. You poured everything into it. The models were solid, but the world just wasn't there yet. It failed. You put it in a folder and forgot about it. How do you know if today, right now, the market has finally caught up?
That is the ultimate strategic question, isn't it? And we're going to dive into a real case study that explores exactly that. It's a business plan from 2015 called Scotia Choice.
Yeah.
Its whole focus was trying to solve this massive demographic challenge in Nova Scotia. And what made it so different was that the whole strategy wasn't about people moving for jobs. It was about housing arbitrage.
Right. And in 2015, that was, well, it was a pretty out there idea. It went nowhere. Remote work was a fringe thing. The tech wasn't ready, so the plan got shelved. So our mission for you today is to unpack what happened next. The founder took that old plan and used advanced AI, we're talking Google Gemini 3 and Perplexity Pro, as a kind of strategic time machine, a forensic auditor to check his 10-year-old predictions against 2024 data. And we are going to reveal the 3 big lessons learned and an $8.5 billion problem that the original plan completely missed.
Absolutely. And the founder was really rigorous about this. This wasn't just for fun. The first step, and this is so critical, was designing the prompt for the AI. It had to be ruthless.
Right. It couldn't just be looking for a pat on the back, no confirmation bias.
Exactly. So they fed it the original 2015 business plan, the financial models, all the old projections, and then they gave it all the current stuff. Fresh data from Statistics Canada, provincial housing reports, migration studies, the works.
And the instruction was basically tear this apart.
Pretty much. It was systematically review my 2015 predictions against 2024 data. Tell me where I was right, where I was wrong, and is this thing dead or is it alive?
And that's where things start to get really interesting. Let's start with the core migration predictions. Prediction number 1 was about volume.
Yeah, so back in 2015, the forecast was for 80 to 100,000 net newcomers to Nova Scotia by 2025.
And the actual number that came in?
Over 126,000.
So he underestimated it by about 26%, which, you could say he missed the mark.
You could, but that misses the most important piece of context. At the same time, in 2015, the government's own projections.
What were they saying?
They were predicting maybe 15 to 30,000 newcomers, tops.
Wait, really? So the founder's model was off by a quarter, but the official government model was off by 4 times?
4 times. Catastrophically wrong. Which tells you the founder was seeing a mechanism, a driver, that the establishment completely missed.
And that mechanism is what the other predictions were all about.
It's exactly. Prediction 2 was the source of the migration. The plan forecasted that 70 to 80% of arrivals would come from Ontario.
And the actual number?
81%.
Wow. Okay, that's within 1%. That is shockingly accurate.
It's dead on. And then prediction 3 was the driver, the why. The model said housing arbitrage, the ability to sell a really expensive home in, say, Toronto and buy a great lifestyle in the Maritimes, that would be the main motivation. It would actually override the need to find a job first.
A pretty radical idea for 2015.
For sure. But provincial surveys today confirm it. Affordability and quality of life are now the #1 drivers. The model basically predicted that the price gap, an $800,000 median home in Ontario versus maybe $450,000 in Nova Scotia, created this massive wealth transfer opportunity, over $350,000. And that lever was just powerful enough to pull people across the country.
So the AI looked at all this, and its conclusion on the original thesis was pretty clear.
It was definitive, directionally correct on all 3 core predictions. The attraction boom was called perfectly. But this is where the AI really, really earned its keep. Because it didn't just stop there and say, good job. It immediately surfaced the billion-dollar failure hiding right underneath that success.
The blind spot.
The blind spot. He was right about getting people to come. He was catastrophically wrong about what happened after they arrived. The AI uncovered what he now calls the leaky bucket. Nova Scotia is winning at attraction, but it is failing dramatically at retention.
Okay, let's put some hard numbers on that. What does a dramatically failing retention rate actually look like?
The data is. It's stark. So Nova Scotia's 5-year retention rate for newcomers, that's the percentage who are still there after 5 years, is about 58%.
58, okay. And how does that compare to, say, Ontario?
Well, that's the gut punch. Ontario's 5-year retention rate is 93%.
93 versus 58.
Yep. Let that sink in. It means Nova Scotia loses 42% of its new families within 5 years. Ontario loses just 9%. This isn't just a little problem, it's a structural failure. You're filling a bathtub with the drain wide open.
That is an incredible amount of churn, a flood, not a drip. And the AI was able to actually quantify the economic cost of that churn.
It was. The math is pretty straightforward, but crushing. Between 2015 and 2025, about 55,000 families arrived. That's based on the validated migration numbers. You apply that 42% churn rate, and that means roughly 23,000 of those families left.
23,000 families.
Yeah.
Now, to get the dollar value, we need to understand what each family is worth to the economy. You mentioned NPV, net present value.
Right. It's basically the calculated 30-year lifetime economic value of a family to the province. It's the taxes they pay, the local spending, businesses they might start, all of it, minus the cost of the services they use. The number is robust, around $243,500 per family.
So you take 23,000 departed families, and you multiply that by $250,000 each.
And the total economic loss, the cost of that leaky bucket over the last decade, comes out to an astonishing $8.5 billion.
$8.5 billion.
With a B. And what's worse, the AI analysis suggested that of those departures, about 13,000 of them were likely preventable. They were caused by what are called structural integration failures.
Fixable problems. And we're not just talking about a local issue here, right? This is being seen elsewhere.
That's a crucial point. It's not just Nova Scotia, though they get hit hard. The Conference Board of Canada put out a report. They called it the Leaky Bucket 2025, and it flagged this as a national crisis. It specifically said the Atlantic region has the worst retention rates in the entire country.
So this audit didn't just validate an old idea, it completely reframed the entire problem. Which brings us to the big strategic lessons for you listening at home. Lesson 1. AI is incredible for pattern validation, but your prompt design is everything.
Everything. Yeah. The temptation is to just ask the AI, hey, tell me I was smart. But this prompt was designed to challenge, to find gaps. And it took what would have been 6 months of manual analysis and did it in a few days. And the biggest value wasn't confirming the migration numbers. It was revealing the retention crisis. The unknown unknown.
The thing he wasn't even looking for. That leads right into lesson 2, which I think speaks to anyone who's ever had an idea shelved. Sometimes you're not wrong. You're just early.
You were just early. Think about it. In 2016, the Scotia Choice idea needed all this sophisticated digital matching and remote work infrastructure. It just didn't exist. AI was way too expensive, open data was a mess, and you had to be in an office to work.
And then 2020 to 2024 happened. The pandemic made remote work normal. LLMs made complex AI affordable. Governments invested in open data. The enabling infrastructure finally showed up.
It finally matured.
Yeah.
And that's the key. An idea fails, but it's not because the idea is bad. It's because the world around it isn't ready. The timing is off.
Which brings us to lesson 3. And this one is tough. The real opportunity means letting go of your original assumptions about the solution. Because the 2015 idea was for a B2C digital welcome platform, basically a fancy online directory for newcomers.
And the AI showed, pretty bluntly, the directories don't fix an $8.5 billion structural failure. You can't just hand someone a brochure when their problems are systemic. Retention failures come from real structural gaps.
What does a structural integration failure actually feel like for a family on the ground?
It's the family that gets sold a house an hour from a decent school because the process was a mess. It's the trailing partner, the spouse, who's a trained engineer but can't get their credentials recognized and ends up isolated. It's a deep disconnection from the community. The directory doesn't fix any of that.
So that forced a huge pivot. They had to go from a consumer app, B2C, to B2B and B2G, business to business, business to government.
Exactly. The whole idea had to shift from being a digital welcome directory to a regional retention operating system. They realized they had to partner with the government, with major employers, to actually fix the underlying system.
You have to fix the leak in the bucket, not just keep pouring more water in.
Right. So the new model isn't about attraction at all. That part's working. It's purely about retention. And the target is to improve that 5-year retention rate by 10 to 14 percentage points. So moving from 58% up into the high 60s, low 70s.
And this is where the ROI, the return on investment, just gets wild. Let's walk through that economic recovery math.
Okay, so every single 1 percentage point improvement in retention keeps about 550 families from leaving over a decade. And based on that $250,000 MPV per family, that means each percentage point is worth about $134 million in recovered economic value.
So hitting just the low end of their target, a 10-point improvement, that's $1.34 billion recovered.
Over $1.3 billion. And the investment needed to build this operating system, it's estimated to be maybe $10 to $15 million over 10 years.
So you spend $15 million to get back $1.3 billion.
The ROI is astronomical, somewhere between 90 and 134 times the investment. And here's the kicker. The platform breaks even, it pays for itself if it improves retention by just 0.7 percentage points.
It's an incredibly powerful case, and that 10-point target feels achievable because you're not trying to solve every problem, just the fixable structural ones.
Exactly. Other structured programs that focus on those core things, housing navigation, partner employment, real community integration, they've seen improvements in the 8 to 12-point range, so it's very realistic.
This whole experiment it's just a masterclass in modern strategy. Before this kind of AI, analyzing a decade of change would have been this massive, expensive manual project. He essentially used a strategic time machine, compressed years of analysis into days.
And turned what looked like a historical failure into a blueprint for a massive economic win. It just changes the game.
So the big meta lesson for you here is that you have to combine that sharp strategic thinking you've always had with these new validation tools, because you can finally spot where the market timing has caught up to your vision. You might not have been wrong. You were just waiting for the world to be ready.
That's it. Understanding that shift from too early to just in time,
Yeah.
the barriers just dissolved.
So a final thought for you. Think about your own archived ideas, the ones that were ahead of their time. If you ran a real systematic AI audit on them today, fed it your old notes, your projections, and today's market data, what forgotten billion-dollar opportunity might be sitting right there in your files, just waiting for the infrastructure to finally catch up. It might be time to find that old folder and hit submit.